My name is Jessica Jolie. I am an NP, and you are listening to The Private Parts of Wellness, a place where taboo meets truth, messy minds get curious, and I say the shit your doctor won't, your friends can't, and your gut already knows. Before we dive in, do not forget to follow, subscribe, hit the bell if you're watching on the YouTube. It really means a lot. The more engaged you are, the more engaged I am. And I don't want you to miss any of our juicy, raw, unfiltered conversations about your body, your hormones, and of course, your pleasure. As I said, we're going to talk about taste, the final sense of the 5 senses grounding practice. And we'll end this episode with the practice just in case you've forgotten what it is. And hopefully you are practicing at those moments where you feel that shit is completely unhinged. By the way, I do curse, and also, even though I'm an NP, this is not medical advice. So today we are landing on taste. Taste is the one thing that we notice at the end, and it's almost the most revealing. Because taste is more than tongue deep. It is definitely intertwined with the hormones, with your entire health, and your pleasure. Your tongue has about 5,000 to 10,000 taste buds. The taste buds are not just on the tongue, they are also on your soft palate, your throat, and even your esophagus. And they regenerate every 10 to 14 days, which means your tongue is constantly learning and evolving. It's also a very, very strong muscle. Thumbs up for the tongue. And here's the thing too, 80% of what you think you taste is actually what you're smelling. When you chew, molecules hit your nose and your limbic system, which is part of your brain, and it is the pleasure and memory center of your brain, and that ends up lighting up. That's why when you have somebody's special mac and cheese, it'll transport you back in time. Sweet, salty, sour, bitter. And then you might have heard about umami, which is the 5th taste. And for me, when I started to hear about umami, and I grew up around food, but I don't remember my dad ever talking about umami, I thought, what the fuck is it? And what it is it's a deep, savory deliciousness that you can get from foods, aged cheese, mushrooms, soy sauce, steered steak. And it's triggered by glutamate. And you can think, glutamate, I've heard that before. Yep, because that is the same compound that makes up MSG. And MSG is the thing that is umami and makes us want to eat those foods. And your body will crave umami because umami, and this is so fucking important, umami signals protein, and protein signals survival. When we're thinking about steak or cheese, protein, survival, you got it? And your brain then lights up when you bite into a slice of pizza. Or hormones also have a huge influence on how things taste and how you actually crave them. Estrogen and progesterone influence saliva production. And during menopause, dry mouth can make food taste dull and even at times metallic. Now, we're talking very specifically about how the hormones play into it. And then testosterone can shift your desire towards salty, savory, and even fattier foods, which I think is really interesting because we're trying to build muscle with testosterone. Now, stress hormones like cortisol, they can also dampen your taste buds and make food feel a little bland, a little blah, and kill not only your appetite, but your libido as well. Taste changes can also signal something is off. Again, if you've noticed that you've always kind of had a certain craving for things, or certain things were just taste good to you, and then you've noticed a switch, you can't taste it as much, that sort of thing. It could be that you have low zinc or a B12 deficiency. And even when we think of one of the ways that we can tell if you've got COVID or not, do you lose your sense of smell or taste? When the taste goes kind of off the rails, it's not just going to be the taste buds. It could be that the whole system needs some adjustment. I was thinking about sex, food, and pop culture. In 1972, I was one. A Chicago chemist. So much cool shit happens in Chicago, like house music. Side note. Okay, so Chicago chemist John Anderson created the edible underwear. And they were made of, or are made of, food starch, glycerin, inverted sugar, and artificial flavors. And the flavors included wild cherry, passion fruit, and banana. And nothing says romance than banana flavored crotch covers. You can change the way that you taste with pineapple and mango. They can definitely sweeten things up. Unlike garlic, red meat, and basically dehydration, which can make everything a little more intense, let's say, or pungent, right? Unless that kind of umami is exactly what you need. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get back to the exercise though. So you've learned a little bit about taste, and taste is one of the easiest ways that we get grounded. It's immediate, it's sensual, and again, it is a portal to memory, desire, and even identity. One of the things that I love to taste personally is vanilla ice cream. But it's got to be vanilla ice cream with strawberries, fresh strawberries, and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. It's the sweet and creamy comfort of the ice cream, the brightness and juiciness of strawberries. The smaller strawberries are usually juicier than the big ones. And then the tangy caramel-like balsamic vinegar. And together they just layer this whole sensory experience. The sweetness, the tanginess, the creaminess, the acidic bite. And it just kind of keeps you, it's just such a good dessert to kind of keep you on your toes. You can also consider adding salt to melon, and that will act in the same way by turning on your taste buds, and it makes that little bit of salt makes the sweetness taste even sweeter. So your brain's limbic system then pulls smell, memory, and emotion while you're tasting these things. So something to think about as we get into that grounding practice. Taking it a little bit further from the mouth and the tongue, you have to know that there's also that, we've already discussed that the brain and the tongue and the mouth are connected. But then the next piece is the gut. And your gut microbiome, well, the gut is actually considered to be a second brain. And in that brain, you have that second brain. It's got neurons, and these neurons talk to your real brain, the big brain up here, all day long. And inside, you've got microbiome. So a whole bunch of microorganisms that are kind of feeding and eating and digesting. And when we think about those neurons, your gut houses about 500 million neurons. And that's second to your brain that's in your head. And it processes emotions. It communicates with your central nervous system. It shapes how you experience joy, fear, orgasm, and intuition. And when your gut's inflamed or you're constipated, it's just something's not right, your taste and even your sixth sense can get a little bit muffled, like someone stuffed a sock in your psychic mouth. I think one of the most obvious expressions of this was with COVID, and people lost taste, they lost smell. Even months later, food still didn't taste right. And the thing that I think what I observed when it first happened, when that week that people were shutting things down at the office that I was at, the clinic I was at, we had a shared bathroom space. There was one of those medical offices. This is going to be gross, but the bathroom was just covered in people's inability to control their bowels. But we were so focused on loss of taste and smell that we didn't talk about the GI issues that people were going through. And again, it's that gut brain access. I had mentioned briefly about the sixth sense, and the sixth sense is something that I think we put into the woo or the vibes category, and it is a real sense. It is your body's deep intelligence. It is interoception, your gut's instinct, your energetic radar, your second brain working with your primary brain and your knowing. It's the way you know that someone's watching you and you don't even need to see their eyes on you. And then you do look and you verify that. It's how you can sense a friend's text even before you get the ding, right? And it's the feeling in your belly that just says, no, no. And that's before your brain catches up. And for some of us, we gaslight ourselves, but that's another episode for another day. It's real gut feeling, a sixth sense. And it also shifts with aging, with hormones, and life in general. How do we make the sixth sense? Well, it's the five senses, the classics, sight, sound, hearing, taste, touch. It's your gut, meaning your enteric nervous system, your second brain. It's the subtle cues that you get from your nervous system. It's your spiritual channels, if you're into that sort of thing, connection to your ancestors, connection to a power greater than yourself, connection to good, orderly direction, and your personal history, your trauma, your healing, and your timing. And again, hormones come back into this. Estrogen sharpens the senses, boosts connectivity to the brain, supports intuition, and that's why in perimenopause, we can feel like you're either a psychic or completely off. I've seen people talk about the deep emotions that we have prior to having a period, if you're still menstruating, being intense. And sometimes it's saying, okay, you've kind of hushed yourself for too long. This week, we're going to let it out. Progesterone, when it's balanced, will bring this sense of calm discernment. It's the ability to say, okay, this is my gut and this is my anxiety, right? I'm going to go with my gut and ignore the anxiety. And then, of course, testosterone fuels clarity and assertiveness. I keep mentioning these three because every human being has them. And when it does come to menopause, know that there is a whole book on the menopausal brain. And in this book, I don't have it in front of me, but I'll put it in the show notes. But she does talk about the remodeling of the brain that happens. It kind of completes itself 5 years post menopause. With age, we can also say, there's this, and it actually kind of annoys me, but this whole concept of I give no more fucks, no fucks given kind of thing with menopause. And I actually think that it's not that you don't give any more fucks about shit, and I curse a lot in menopause. It's just that your bullshit meter is loud, that you give a fuck about the things that you need to give a fuck about, right? So your yes becomes a solid yes, and you're comfortable with that yes, and it's a yes, and the no, again, is a complete sentence, and it becomes a non-negotiable. It's your sixth sense is kind of maturing. I think that there's a point for a lot of us where we say, okay, we've hit midlife. These years of vitality that I have left, I'm going to listen to myself first. I've walked with myself this far. and I'm going to continue to walk with myself and put myself first. You almost say, I know what I know, and I'm not going to ask for permission. I just think that is absolutely amazing. I'm going to give you some weird facts just to kind of tie in all of this. Your gut bacteria may influence your dreams and even your spiritual experiences. Some people can literally smell fear, and the uterus and cervix have memory cells. Maybe your womb holds some wisdom as well, even if it's not being used, even if it's been removed. Perhaps some of those cells stay back. And finally, when we think of these last senses, did you know that your skin has cells that can detect light even in total blindness? It's wild. And if you put all of those together, you can possibly imagine that this amazing system that is your body informs more than you realize. Because the sixth sense is embodied. It's in the soles of your feet when you ground down, when you stand on bare feet on the earth. It's the heat between your thighs when you follow desire. It's the quiet after you've said no and the no feels really good. And it's there when you do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. The one is that whisper from somewhere beyond because it's got that memory. Because taste is much more layered than just the immediate taste. How do you sharpen or access this? Meaning the sixth sense in general. Well, you tend to your gut, and it's not just probiotics. You don't have to take a pill necessarily, but it's fiber, rest, boundaries, sex with yourself or with someone else, making space, taking quiet time, sitting in stillness, noticing stillness without fixing. Intuition will show up like a whisper, and naps are helpful too. Anyway, that's why with my private patients, so take away that's why I've started to, this is my little confession, I've started to pull cards with some of my private patients. And it's not because I'm not into the science or I don't want to talk about the plan or follow a medical model. It's just that sometimes we need to ground together to do this work. And not everyone's receptive to it. It's fine with me. But some people are like, okay, let's do that. Let's pull a card. Let's do a reading. Let's see what's up. And I think I also do it because there's a lot of anxiety, health anxiety that people have. It doesn't come from just no place. I mean, the idea of using the intuition or using some kind of a non-scientific piece to coming to creating a plan for a patient actually has its roots in science. When you're in nursing school, you learn about the Brenner model, novice to expert. The novice nurse is very focused on the rules, is very focused on learning their clinical skills, checking the basics. And by the time you get to the expert of nursing, it's that nurse who can look at a patient and all the bells and whistles seem to be clicking and ticking at the right time. And the patient is saying the right thing, but there's just something that says to that nurse, this patient is not okay. And so they'll go to the attending, they'll go to the chief, resident, whoever they're supposed to be, and they'll say, I don't think that so-and-so in room so-and-so, bed A or B, is doing well. And because they're the expert, and because they are putting all of their senses together, all of their knowing, the collaborating physician, whoever they're working with says, okay, I'm going to check in on them. And damn it, if they're not right. I've witnessed it, and you might have heard those stories. I bring all that up to say that you're so awesome. You are so incredible. We are so incredible. The way that our gut, our mind, our bodies, our intuition, we're amazing. I just want to remind you of that. Not just nurses. You could take it any way. I'm saying you, whoever you are listening to this right now, you human friend, You are amazing. Whether you know it or not, you are. Your body is amazing. Your mind is amazing. And your ability to tap in is incredible. And don't discount any of it. All right, I'm kind of gone off on a tangent. So let's just take a minute back for the reason for the season, which is this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice. I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes and sit with me. You can close your eyes. And definitely remember to do this practice if you are feeling anxious, ungrounded, or overwhelmed. And for this purpose, pay a little more attention to the last step, which is taste. Take a few breaths. When you're ready, open your eyes and name internally 5 things that you see. It can be color, objects, people. Just name them. And then 4 things you can touch. Can you feel your shirt on your back, the ground underneath your feet, the air on your skin, waistband of your pants? And 3 things you can hear. Maybe you hear a buzzing, distant conversation. What 2 things can you smell? Nothing at all. And finally, what 1 thing can you taste? Coffee from the morning on your lips. And while it's not part of it, take some breaths and ask yourself, what is my gut telling me right now? What is it whispering? Don't judge it. Trust the message and know you are amazing. Thank you for listening. Thanks for reviewing and rating. If you're interested in learning more about what I do, working with me, send me a message. If you have a question, share your question and I will answer it on the podcast. Let me know how this practice goes for you if you use it often. And stay messy, stay well, keep taking care of your private parts. Thanks again for listening.